guys, how's it going? Today we're going to learn how to draw Spider-Man. Spider-Man. So, Spider-Man, and actually before we do that, we're going to have a little quick word from our sponsor, and the sponsor is Armadillo. Armadillo is a wristband that you can put pencils in like so, and the thing we can do is you can fill all these up with pencils. This is actually for markers, that's why it's so loose like that, but I'm going to use it for the pencil that I have right now, and you can wrap it around your wrist, and you can wear it, you know, let's say you go out to sketch, out on the beach or something like that, you have your supplies on hand, you know what I mean? What I like to do sometimes is actually sharpen my pencils where they're a little bit shorter so they fit really well, and they fit pretty well anyway. So the other thing you can do with this is you can wrap it around your sketchbook using this band. I can literally wrap it around my sketchbook and carry it around, and I'll show that in another video. So for now, check out the Armadillo at arm-adillo.com and get one of these. These things are awesome. Also has a little magnet here. You can find out about that on the website. So anywho, enough of that. So let's go over how to draw Spider-Man. Spider-Man, this pencil, by the way, I don't know if I mentioned it. Pencil doesn't really matter. It's really what's in your head. Later on, you can get picky, you know, and everybody's got their, you know, shades like this. But we're just going to do the line art. We're going to be doing basically a portrait of Spider-Man. Oh, this thing's blue. I had no idea. Wow. So with Spider-Man, we're going to start with an egg shape. He already has a cylindrical egg shape. I'm doing this really light because I'm not going to use an eraser. The reason I'm not going to use an eraser is because I want to keep this real. You know what I'm saying? Keep it real. We ain't erasing. Actually, the real reason I'm not using an eraser is because I can't locate one right now. So I'm sorry. I'm really sorry about that. So I'm going to draw this egg shape for the head. Hopefully you can see that. It's very, you can barely see it, right? And I'm doing that because it's for my own reference. You draw this line straight down. He doesn't have a huge Hulk neck, right? Hulk's got a freaking giant neck. His trapezius muscles, the ones kind of show off the side of your neck. But Spider-Man's more of a thin, you know, gymnast style neck, you know what I'm saying? He doesn't got Superman's neck or even Batman's neck, you know? So what I like to do is draw two straight lines downward and kind of have this overlapping, right? And then his shoulder muscles come out. Come out of that, you know? I would go and actually learn the anatomy. Maybe you learn it from there's a George Bridgman book. I know that's the name, George Bridgman. That's a great anatomy book. Or there's an amazing book called The Anatomy for Artists, I believe. I'll show it on camera next time. But learn the anatomy, and here I'm just giving you a shorthand if you don't know the anatomy. You know what I'm saying? Solid neck there with some muscle, the shoulder muscles coming out of it. So, also, down here, what it is it's kind of like some cords that tie in the way the muscles work. There's like these long cords from the back of your neck. You can even feel it on yourself if you touch yourself. Kind of goes from the back of your neck area all the way down to the pit of your neck. Looks like silly putty or something. So I would like to indicate that by just putting a couple of lines. I don't draw every line in there. Sometimes you do. Sometimes some guys like it, depending on who you are. I don't. And that would kind of signify this pit of the neck area. You know, just a few lines to show that. And like I said, a great idea would be to go study that area. That would show you a lot more than I'm showing you right here. This is just something to get by with. And his head is a ball, you know? Sometimes you can draw the cheekbone sticking out. Some guys like that. Because he's covering his face, right? His face is going to have kind of a contour to it. But I don't know. I like Spidey with only not much of his under face kind of showing through his... not much of the shape of his skull showing through as much. I want more of that kind of round, clean feel. My pencil's dying. Where's the sharpener? Alright. Okay, let me get more. Cool. Dang, this thing's really sharp now. You can draw it all the way if you want. Normally I wouldn't connect it like that, another character, but Spider-Man's a little different. You could connect it all the way. Not too harsh, though. Okay, so that's a good base to start with. Now we're going to draw... He's looking off that way, right? A little bit. Hopefully you can see that. My arrows. So the center line of his face is going to be right here. And I'm going to draw it really light. I don't even think you're going to be able to see that on camera. It's just for my reference. And I'm going to, even though his eyes are giganto, I'm going to try to find his brow line, right? Where it would be under the mask. You know, where would his eyes be under that mask, right? Maybe his eyeballs would be maybe right here. But the design of his mask is different. The design of his mask, I'm going to enlarge, you know, see where his eyes would be. I'm going to enlarge that, you know, maybe like 3 or 4 or 5 times. The way I'd like to think of it is his eyes are basically a bloated triangle. You know what I mean? And I'm going to draw just one line first. His lines are basically like, see that? There's a corner here, really kind of a corner over here. It just changes direction. And like I said, different artists do that different ways, but I think of it as this bloated triangle. And I'm going to do the same thing to the other side, and I'm going to try to even this out too. Unless he's doing a very distinct expression, like he does a lot. But for now, I'm going to make it plain. I'm going to try to keep this even. Where would this be if his head is slightly turned, you know, I'm saying that way? I'm going to put a line over here straight, just, you know, visually in my mind. I'm going to look, okay? This is going to line that up. Try to line it up as close as I can, but I got to remember that it's turning around a corner, right? So you're not going to see all the white of his eye. See, so this is the same thing. Where would that be? That would be probably on the other side. His cheek there. Alright. That's a little off, I think, honestly. Let me see that. Yeah, that's a little off. I would actually put his line over here. How do I fix that with an eraser, you ask? I would rub it a little bit. It's making it worse. Well, I'm going to have to make it one of the lines, you know. I'm going to have to, that's how you do, how do you handle your mistakes, right? I'm going to teach you something I do. One way I handle my mistakes is by making the correct lines a lot thicker and darker. So, actually, I'm going to be doing that right now. One moment. Man, people are messaging me on Facebook. They don't realize I'm recording. That is annoying. How do I turn it off? I know. So I'm gonna bolden the line around his eye. He has this thicker, tends to have this much thicker line around the eye area. You can even throw a little design there on the side. You know, artist license kind of thing. What do you want? Where do you want these bold lines to be? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to darken it with this blue pencil I have. I'm going to leave a little space open like that to indicate kind of a shine effect. Sometimes it looks a little shiny than the rest of the suit. The rest of the suit isn't really that shiny, at least in the comics. And when you do stuff like this, you can actually literally just turn the whole thing, because the natural motion of your hand, you know what I'm saying, is like this. And you don't want to have to turn all crazy. You can just turn the paper, honestly. And it's funny, too. It's such a natural, easy thing to do. But I've seen a lot of guys just forget, you know. Sometimes you do just forget. You're concentrated. You're concentrated on the drawing so much you forget that you can actually just kind of turn around and do whatever you want with it. Alright, let me do the same to the other side. I'm going to make this side bold, and I'm actually going to make it so bold I'm going to try to ignore that huge mistake right there, right? Obviously, if I was working on a book or comic, you know, you'd have an opportunity to erase that, you know? But I'm just saying, if you, let's say you're sketching your sketchbook, and you're like, crap, I can't get rid of that. You know, there are ways you develop to kind of cheat it. Let me give you a quick example while I'm just filling this in, right? Let's say, have you ever done inking before? Meaning you take a line drawing that you've already done and you ink over it, right, with some, you know, black ink. What you could do to cheat that, you know, sometimes if you've ever used a quill or anything like that during inking, when you're inking with ink, sometimes, bam, a huge just blot will come out of it sporadically. you know, and that's just because that's just the nature of the tool you're using. So what people would do is, let's say you're drawing a pirate, and you draw this huge blot like next to his shoulder. You're like, oh shit. A good thing to do would be to, make that into a parrot. Make it a raven. And that like I swear, I would see guys in school do that. And I've had to do stuff like that too. Because if you can't get rid of a mistake, you can hide it or turn it into something that's not a mistake. So, okay, so we got his eyes down pretty well. Now we're gonna be drawing what really identifies him as the lines all over his face. Luckily, his center line is already there. Draw a thin line. And take your time. You got all day, man. You got all day. It's going to curve. Remember this curve around his head. His head is like ball-like, you know what I mean? So these lines are going to follow the contour kind of his shape. You're going to maybe draw a point in the center. You got to find a center point. Sorry, I'm checking my Facebook again. I'm really sorry. People just keep texting. It's annoying. Same thing over here. Draw a straight line. Try to make that even as you can on the other side. I'm actually just kind of taking this and doing it, like boom, just putting it super in really hard the first time. What you could do is draw it very lightly. Very lightly, find out exactly where the lines are going to be. I think that's good enough right there. It's kind of touching, but it's good enough. Where would that go? Let's see. Where would that go? Draw those lines in. And then start darkening them in, the ones you put in. But not too dark. And this is just a stylistic opinion I'm about to give you, but when you're putting down Spider-Man's lines, especially, let's say it's in like this pencil, I think it looks a lot more attractive if you make the outermost line, the contour, the outermost line the darkest, So be careful how dark you make these lines in the middle, like on the inside, of the character. Alright, so we got those line structure down. So what you do is you pull those webbings. These are going to be slightly curved. How many is kind of up to you. I know there's kind of a standard for that, but I've seen guys do all kinds of number of the web, of how many webs to put. I would definitely space them out a bit though. See, I look back. Sometimes I'd like to get back away from it to see what's up. I feel like it gives you a little bit more perspective if you move back a bit. Down here it's getting confusing here. There's a lot of lines. Be careful. Like I said, how thick I'm gonna draw. Now, okay, I got this mount. I'm gonna reinforce the outside lines. And I don't know the explanation, but like I said, when you make the outside line darker, and this is just an opinion, I feel that it contains a lot of the complexity, and it makes things look a lot more like you worked on it really hard. It looks more complex when you put this thick line on the outside. It just contains all these it makes the smaller shapes look even smaller. Like, wow, like, damn, this guy worked on it. Again, that's just an opinion, so take it for what it's worth. It's just an opinion of somebody. And I'm just going... All right, guys, that's a drawing. And if you like this drawing, please share it on Facebook. Some people have the donation thing. If you share this on Facebook, that's basically like donating to me. That helps me immensely, and it's a big thank you. Thanks a lot, guys, for watching, and I appreciate it. Stay healthy.